Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to be
Hi,
able to speak
Sal.
to you. Um,
Thank you.
Maybe you can kick off with an intro to this incredible documentary, which I had the um, joy of seeing in the cinema on the big screen yesterday. What can
Oh,
people
great.
expect from your XFM documentary?
Probably a trip down memory lane, I should imagine, from the 90s. All the good bits about it that we all remembered and enjoyed about the 90s. I said last night, I don't know if you were there for the question and answer, and I said that, when I was a kid, I always read them books about, the summer of love, and I really badly wanted one of them, and I think we got it in that period of time, so yeah, it's all linked into it.
And tell us a bit about what your way into the story of XFM was. What was your connection to the station and to the people involved? And why did you think this was a story that kind of needed to be told and put on the big screen and kind of made into a bit of a time capsule?
Well, I was in a band at that time, and we had a guy called Elan who was looking after us. Unfortunately, he passed away before the station got its license. But before that, the RSLs, he used to sit in a cafe in Camden and listen to it on a little Walkman, and then he used to sort of go and flyer around about our gigs and what we were doing. So I knew it from that period of time anyway. And then Paul Hallam, who was the manager of that band, came to me a couple of years ago and just said, "Look, I've got an idea. I really want to, we should do the story about XFM." So I got my business partner Brian Anderson. I said, "Yeah, let's do it." And then Jim Benner came on side and basically said, "Look, I'll speak to Ricky, I'll speak to Stephen, I'll speak to Claire, I'll speak to Jim, John, Cameron." And we were so lucky that they gave up all of their time for us and wanted to talk about it. But I promise you, not one of them thought there was a story here. Not one of them. They all said, "Well, we'll do it, but I don't think people are going to be interested. I don't think they're going to be interested about it." So which was lovely in itself. You know what I mean? That they didn't think that it was that important, but it was that important. To all of us.
And where on earth did you begin kind of putting this together? Because I guess the sort of challenge of putting things that are great on radio onto some visual medium, is quite clear. But also, I guess there wasn't so much footage from actually, inside the station where they were working. But you've so beautifully and cleverly been able to put together, archive footage of the bands around at the time, all these amazing interviews, and really brought the story to life. So, was that an intimidating prospect, and how did you go about putting it together?
I mean, so basically, my idea was that I wanted to do the interview so it was very clean, like the black chair and the black background, so it was very clean, so we could cut that in with the editor Aaron and myself can cut that in with the archive footage and the pictures. The only thing that we couldn't get was which is a real shame, because that would have been lovely to sort of add into this piece, but unfortunately it's owned by about 5 different people that you can't get hold of anymore, so we couldn't use the Great Expectation gig in Finsbury Park before the sort of license. We were lucky because Sammy Jacobs had the only footage of Ricky Gervais in that station, so it was really lucky that he gave us that, which was lovely. And then Chris Parry's daughter had the footage of them on the telephone getting the license that day, so we interacted that as well. We spoke to Ricky, we spoke to Stephen, Claire, John, Fraser, all of them. They all had pictures, they all had their memories, they all had stuff that they could give us. So we built an art really just to light out of that, and fitted the interviews around it really. So when I done it into the chapters, it's like a Quentin Tarantino thing, if you've noticed that I put it into chapters so it made it easier.
And you've got so many amazing interviews from all these people, and it just really conveys kind of I think more than one person sort of reflecting it was like the best year of their life. And then also kind of, I guess, bringing in Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant, I guess the younger generation, that's their kind of link into that as well.
Absolutely.
Having seen, all the stuff that they went on to do. And I had no idea they used to work at XFM. So was it amazing being able to interview those people, and particularly getting Ricky Gervais and Stephen online?
I think with Ricky, as we said last night, he was so great. And that's what blew me away, because I was really nervous, about meeting him, thinking, oh, if he's not what I think he is, this is going to be terrible. And he was probably more than that. He was just the nicest person, like really lovely, gave up his time, and he's genuinely funny off camera or on camera. He is who he is. And for him to sit there on camera and say it was the best job that he ever had, knowing what he's done, the Golden Globes and all this stuff, this is the best job he ever had. And I think when you get that stuff, you think, okay, that's the reason why we're doing this, really, because these people actually loved it. You got to remember, and I didn't say this last night, and I'm gutted I didn't. Claire Sturgis had a job at the BBC, so she would have been like Joe Wiley, going forward if she'd stayed. She gave all of that up to work on XFM. That's how important it was to them, So I think that's quite amazing, isn't it, in itself,
And actually, one of the things I remember I did ask Claire very briefly yesterday was how she felt, because the one thing that does jump out to me, maybe as a woman, is how it was very male dominated in those days. And that was both as on a DJ side, but also the alternative music scene and the bands and everything. And she was kind of a bit of a lone ranger in that respect, but she's also incredibly inspirational. So, did that kind of as well, did that jump out to you as well?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it was a male dominated sort of, station, really, wasn't it? Except for Annie and a few of the others, but Janice Long and that. But I mean, she did stand out, didn't she? She's an amazing testament of what she's done now. So, her whole career has been a DJ. So it shows how good she is, really, to do that. And I think that did stand out. And I think with Claire, there was a lot of the footage that we didn't put in. She literally sobbed. We stopped filming because she was sobbing, of how important it was. And even last night when I was chatting to her about it, she was like, it really was the best year of my life. And you could see her tear up still about that. So I think it's a testament to them that they gave Claire that chance as well. And she took it. I love that she left the BBC to do that job. I think it's great.
And one of the things they did say as well last night was almost when they were in it, kind of in the eye of the hurricane, it's sometimes hard to see what impact you're making. But, you kind of maybe can't overstate actually at that point in time, what, the ripple effect that station did have. So was that another reason that you were really compelled to make this documentary? And how do you think it impacted kind of what came after?
I think Sammy said last night, Radio 6 or 6 Radio, BBC. Sammy had it spot on. If you look at the list of them people, they all, that list is from XFM, And I think when you could turn on your radio at 8 o'clock in the morning and hear Public Enemy or MC5 Kick Out the Jams or one of these things, it was something really special. It was just brilliant. And my son, he actually thought in his head that Oasis had always been played on daytime radio, and Blur and Pulp and all these great bands, and they weren't. It was only until the evening that Steve Lamacq, Joe Wiley came on, that you got to play them. We had Phil Collins, In the Air Tonight or whatever. You know what I mean? And so XFM, that's the testament, that they got all these new bands, and I think someone needs to do it now, Sarah, as well. That someone needs to. There's some great bands. Did you like the music? Did you like the soundtrack?
Yeah, amazing. So great. And cool. I was thinking that as well, that actually you might think that radio is quite kind of an open landscape, but really it's not, because a lot of the stations are actually owned by the same companies. So yeah, I was going to ask that as well, how you see today's landscape in comparison to back then. And, is there a bit of a gap really in the market for something like XFM?
I think there is a gap. Luckily we've got John Kennedy, luckily we've got Keith Cameron, because they do play new music, probably not a lot of new music, because that's what they're, I think, I mean, I don't know how that stands, but I think they're probably restricted to that they can only do a certain amount. I think there is a gap in the market. Someone said on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, it's a real shame there's not any new bands around. Absolutely shocking, really, because there's tons of them, as we proved in XFM. You've got bundles of bands out there that are going to do it, but I'm hoping that someone will pick up on all new music again and start playing it, and then we could have programs like Top of the Pops back, and to see new bands in there and all that. It'd be lovely, wouldn't it, to do that?
I think for me watching it as well, I just felt such a wave of nostalgia. I mean, just because it also seeped in, didn't it, to all the pop culture that was, you know, around at that time, or even thinking about, you know, Diana's death, but, you know, that amazing era of Britpop, having those interviews also with the Libertines, and seeing how, like, maybe there were, you know, bands were able to come through in this kind of organic grassroots way that we, you know, doesn't seem that possible anymore. So it's also a trip down memory lane for a lot of people.
I mean, there's bands like the K's and the Ras and the Chase, and you got Gone Party, and you got JW Paris. There are only a few off the top of my head. They sell out right across the UK. They sell out their tours within 20 minutes, but they're not in the charts. I don't know how that's possible to be like that, you know. And you can't get a ticket to their gigs because they literally sell out with young people. This is not older people like me with bald heads walking in there. This is, you know, young people walking in. So it's a shame, you know, that they're not getting heard, really.
And, you know, what do you hope people take away from watching the film? And also, you know, how did it feel to have everyone in that cinema last night? It just felt like there was an incredibly electric atmosphere in the crowd, and, you know, the discussions on stage, etc., etc.
I just want them to take away that, you know, the memories of it, really, the memories of, look, you know, this is where these people started, and they created something magical that will last forever, that will carry on into the next generation. These bands that I asked to be on it, every single one of them knew about XFM. Every single manager knew about XFM, and that's the testament of XFM, because that is what, you know, that is what that radio station was about. And Sammy Jacobs did do that, and Chris Parry created it, you know, with Sammy, and they did do that, you know, which is, you know, great. So hopefully they'll watch it and be transported back to the 90s just for 90 minutes, you know.
And finally, you know, do you have another project in the pipeline? What's going to be next? I know someone was asking you, going to do the other chapters of the station, or are you going to do something completely else?
The other chapter will be a bit awkward to do because of Capital. You know, you never know. Never say never. You never say never. I'd love to sort of do it all again with them because they're lovely people. So that'd be quite cool. And the next chapter obviously has got Carl Pilkington in it. So, you know, that'd always be fun, wouldn't it? The next project for us is Irving Welsh documentary, Train Spotting. And that should be out in January next year. So we're nearly finished filming that now. So we're there.
I interviewed him once for his, was it Dead Man's Shoes? A different
Dead Man's Shoes, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, that's Shane Meadows, isn't it? Dead Man's Shoes.
Oh, I might have got that wrong. But he's an amazing guy, though. So
do you know what? He's the nicest, kindest man that you'll meet. He's lovely, absolutely lovely. And we said to him, "Oh, do you want to meet, you know, at the Groucho for the, you know, so we can meet you and, you know, decide." And he was like, no, there's a Weatherspoons in there in Islington. Let's just go there instead. So
brilliant.
How cool is that?
Classic.
You know?
So cool. So cool. Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing all that with me, and can't wait for everyone else to have the chance to see this incredible documentary.
And I'm glad you came last night. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and thank you for supporting
it. Yeah, I really did. I was really glad I was there. So thanks so much.
Brilliant.
Cheers.
Thanks.